That is the sound of a distracted, divided, and dead American until they hear Battle for Freedom, triggering change, one heartbeat at a time. Welcome, everyone. I'm your host, Watson Prunier from Battle for Freedom on Mojo 5 Radio, and I'm glad that you are joining me and you're part of this program as we close out this crazy week of everything racist and everything cop killing related as the media tries to shove down our throats. Listen, folks, listen. We're not going to believe the lie. Don't believe the hype. For those of you, you'll get it. You'll understand exactly where I'm going with that. Listen, we're not going to follow those lies. We're not going to follow those deceptions. But you have to understand that we're at a very, very sad state, pun intended, in our country right now, because we're in these states of corruption, from DC to denial. We're in states of corruption from DC to denial. And if you want to, you can go to, I'm still in the process of making some, just adding more content that I did not post yet, but you can go to my website, Battle4Freedom.com. Those of you who might be looking at the screen and you don't want to type in Battle4Freedom.com from your computer, just basically take your photo app and scan that little QR code in the top right corner of my screen, and that'll take you right to my website. Also, I want you to go to Mojo50.com, because I'm one of the many voices you get a chance to hear on this great network that affords you the ability to hear perspectives that you won't hear from the mainstream media. You'll hear a lot of different things from Mojo 5 Radio that you won't hear from the mainstream media, probably won't even hear at home. It's a crazy network, and you'll have your mind saying, wow, they actually went there. Yes. And many of you are probably saying the same thing too, that I actually decided to go there on certain topics. That's what I do with Battle for Freedom, and I'm glad you're listening here. I see if you want to interact with the program, you can go to facebook.com/Mojo5 Radio. I see Josh and Jill. I see Carolyn. I see Heidi. Good morning. Thank you for being part of this. So today I want to talk to you about this whole idea of the issues of the states of corruption. You know, I think about this, like this, you have your states of water, whether it's either water, or it's the liquid, or it's runny, or it's gas and it's just full of hot air, or it's solid and it's just full of just stuff. And as I sit here and I look at the language at, DC, the Democrats want to make DC a state. They just voted to make DC a state. The timing on this, everything is so interesting how all this happens. And we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about that. But you have to understand that there's a couple of other different things that you need to see as the country tries to, as focus groups try to take us to a city of wokeness, to a nation of wokeness. Wokeness about the plight of black people, wokeness about the plight of people in the LGBT community, wokeness about immigrants, wokeness about everybody except whites or even natural-born citizens. Because I don't understand how black people and many minorities can continue to complain about not having opportunities in a land that God has truly blessed and given everybody an opportunity to succeed. I just don't understand it. And I think the reason why is because of the fact that there is no communication with God. There is no reading and devotion in his word if all we do is complain about what we don't have or what we can't have, or why does our neighbor have this and we don't. I mean, that literally everything about the woke culture, the woke canceling culture, is an affront to God. It is an affront to God that we get to this point. So much so, I don't, do I do it? Do I do this? Yes, I might as well just get this one out of the way now. No, that's not the one I want. I want a different one. This one, I couldn't believe it. I saw it, and I said, this is actually happening. This is actually happening. So there's a woke pastor who's out there, and he decided to say that Jesus was a racist, and Jesus repented from his sins of racism. This is how far the wokeness has gone, when the wokeness has gone to the point of saying that Jesus was a racist and repented for his sin of racism, when a woman, a Syrophoenician woman, corrected Jesus and shamed him into basically changing his language. This is how this is the greatest state of corruption, when you have quote unquote pastors now saying that Jesus sinned. Because if that pastor was really reading his Bible, he would understand that if Jesus sinned, Jesus can't die on the cross for us. And as I sit here watching this thing here unfold, I'm sitting here thinking, you got very comfortable. You got very comfortable in your wokeness to feel like you can say this about Jesus and not feel any kind of conviction. Good morning, Lisa, Josh, and Jill, and Paige. Thanks for joining. But I couldn't believe it. Here it is, a woke pastor saying that Jesus was a racist. And what I'll do is, if you come to facebook.com/Mojo Fiber Radio, I'm putting the link in the timeline so you can find it yourself, and go spend some time with it yourself, and then just go from there. But I just couldn't believe that this pastor actually went this far. I'm just going to show you. Yeah, here it is. Was Jesus a racist? Take 1.
There's a part of the Gospel of Mark where Jesus uses a racial slur. In Mark chapter 7, there's the account of the Syrophoenician woman, a woman who is Syrian and Greek, both of which there were strong biases against within the Jewish community. And she comes to ask Jesus to heal her daughter who's possessed by a demon. And what is Jesus' response? He says, "It's not good for me to give the children's food," meaning the children of Israel's food, "to dogs." He calls her a dog. What's amazing about this account is that the woman doesn't back down. She speaks truth to power. She confronts Jesus and says, "Well, you can think that about me, but even dogs deserve the crumbs from the table." Her boldness and bravery to speak truth to power actually changes Jesus' mind. Jesus repents of his racism and extends healing to this woman's daughter. I love this story because it's a reminder that Jesus is human. He had prejudices and bias, and when confronted with it, he was willing to do his work. And this woman was willing to stand up and speak truth.
Yeah, so is it just me?
Yes. This is how far we've come. This is how far we've come in the area of needing to be woke. I can't play that anymore. I'm like, are you kidding me? The state of corruption is so high. And I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, are you kidding me? You're saying that Jesus was a sinner? That Jesus sinned and he was racist and he repented of his sin? This is the language coming from the church. Oh, our church doesn't say anything like that. Oh, no. Let me help you understand something. If you are a black church or a white church, Hispanic church, whatever kind of church, and you're promoting white privilege, you're calling Jesus a sinner. If you're any of those churches and you're promoting critical race theory or liberation theology or woke culture, you're saying that Jesus is a sinner. Oh, we didn't say that. Oh, no. Acts 17:26 basically says that God appoints the boundaries and the borders and the periods for everyone, that God establishes, the word says he established kings, he raises kings. He could do whatever he wants to do. Right now in Romans chapter 9, as I'm reading about the sovereignty of God, it basically says that he can bless whomever he wants. He can judge whomever he wants. His right, his way, his sandbox. So if Jesus in his sandbox makes castles for white folk, or Jesus makes or Jesus makes castles for men, or Jesus makes castles for anybody. It's his right to do whatever he wants in his own sandbox. But yet, because of woke culture, because of wokeness, we're going to now go so far as to say that Jesus sinned. That's when you know the woke culture is the highest form of deception and lies. This is very, very troubling. I mean, I really believe that I need to go through about 17,000 sessions in 5 minutes with Dr. Anthony Macchiotti of New Life Holistic. I mean, hearing that, seeing that, actually hearing those words come off the mouth of that individual tells me, go out and get yourself some biofeedback, healing, and therapy right now. You have to clean those horrible tunes. You have to clean those horrible words. You have to clean the image of that situation out of your mind. Go to newlifeholistic.com right now and get healed. See, right now I'd be screaming. But I'm very calm. It's almost like if I did have a session with Dr. Anthony Macchiotti and New Life Holistic, but I didn't. But I'm letting you know that the peace and the calmness that you see me normally screaming is available to you right now if you go to newlifeholistic.com and tell them that Watson from Battle for Freedom sent you. If you don't have the time to listen to the tones and go through the biofeedback therapy, you probably would consider yourself a cup of American Pride Roasters coffee, the official coffee of Mojo 5 Radio. Because maybe that's one of those things that you could just sip on Rod's Sexual Chocolate, or even Brad's Brown Brag, or Izzo's Rage, or even Watson's White Chocolate Caramel Coffee Blend, when you just need to chill out from all the craziness. Or maybe you go to mypillow.com, click the radio link, and save. Oh my goodness. Jesus is a racist. This is the state of our corruption. Because she responded to authority. So basically, because you see what I'm saying? Because the people who are protesting right now are responding to authority. And she is responding, she's protesting Jesus' words. Completely takes things out of context. Just like even the women's lib movement that basically says that the Bible is sexist. And I had an ex-girlfriend who she literally said the Apostle Paul was a sexist. She's reading women's lib. I believe she has her doctorate or or PhD or whatever it is, but that the Apostle Paul was a sexist. This is the language. Just because of the fact that he says women should not preach in church, and all of a sudden now we have to change and call the Bible sexist so we can get women in leadership. Woke culture. The idea that black people have to push the fact that we have to be in leadership, we have to be running something. There's nothing in the Bible that says on earth that black people or minorities or women or anybody over that statement outside of who God has put in the Word of God will be leaders and authorities. But for some strange reason, we twist it when we want our way. When flesh rises up and we feel the need that we want to have our way, and we want church to look the way that we want to, we develop language and we develop offenses against God, presuming to be this ministry that's glorifying him, when we're actually defecating in his face and defecating on his holiness. The state of corruption is high, from DC to denial. I mean, that man is in denial to say that Jesus is a sinner. Let's go back to some other stuff that's very interesting here. You know what's really interesting in the process of everything in the wokeness that's going on? Did you know this? This is the Lethal Force by let me get this down to here. You're finding out that no, that's the wrong one. I went too far on that one here. Here you go. This one's too soon. Actually, I want to go to this one here. This is the one I want to go to. This is the footage from Daily Mail from the neighbor of, I'm going to put this in a loop because I want you to see this. This is the footage of the situation that took place, and I know I have to stop it after a particular period of time because of the fact that, okay. So when you're looking now at the footage from the neighbor, from what is her name is, Makia Bryant's neighbor, who basically says that everybody, the message right now is cops, guns blazing, stop killing black people. So a couple of things that, like I mentioned this yesterday, and I want us to consider this today. But let's start answering the question. If cops are killing black people, why do we keep calling them to the scene? I mean, honestly, if we don't want to be killed by cops, do everything you can to avoid them. Don't do anything to break the law. Don't do anything to break attention to them. And if things get crazy at your place, don't call them. Because if you do call the police, you raise the probability of being killed by cops, right? So you know this. You have the talk about corrupt cops. So then why not just have the talk about don't call the cops? Don't call the cops. But see, this is one of the things that I want you to see, that because everybody's saying that, oh, he's guns blazing and he just was eager to kill himself a black person. He was so eager to kill himself a black person. Huh. Very, very interesting. I was doing some numbers here. Is this it? Yeah. It was 10 seconds from the time that the officer exited his car before he drew his weapon. So let me help you understand something here. He wasn't guns blazing. He wasn't guns blazing. He had his hand on the firearm, or could have even been just around there, as he gets outside of the car. As you watch the video, he wasn't guns blazing, because if he was guns blazing, he would have had the gun out of his hands, out of the holster by the time he got to where they were. But there are two other officers. I thought there were only two officers. There were actually three officers. You had the one who actually shot Makia. You had the one who shot Makia, who had another one, because even the neighbor says he needed to shoot her or there'd be more dead people at the time. So when you sit here and you look at this thing here, that at the point when he shows up and he's encountering her, okay? So he gets here, he gets out of the car, and then about here, he's now basically going up. He's saying, okay, look. If you're paying attention here, you see that on the right hand is not drawing out the weapon. You see that there are two victims that are standing in front of the car. Through two potential victims. He's saying, what's going on? Okay, this is what he says. No gun drawn. He's saying, what's going on? We've been told that there's a situation. We've been told that there's a situation of a stabbing. You call the police saying that someone is trying to stab me. Okay, now, as we get through this, we're looking at this. He stopped and he's saying, like, now mind you, he's still saying, hey. Okay, at this particular point, Makia has now knocked someone to the ground. So someone has been, if I'm correct, someone has been stabbed. Or, yeah, she's been stabbed. She's knocked someone to the ground. Okay, now, and at this particular point, too, you have a moment that I forgot that I didn't notice until I looked at the video cam of one of the police officers again, that the father is kicking now mind you, the neighbor says he heard a fight. He watched a fight when he came home, and he saw that things were escalating because, black people promote peace, and so does Makia. And in the middle of this, you have the father is kicking one of the women in the head. Okay? He's kicking one of the people in the head. And then all of a sudden, he now sees the officer is now on top to look and see that Makia has a knife in her hands. And he's like, hey, stop, stop, stop. Now she gets up. Now we're now at the 10-second mark where he's basically told her, what are you doing? She has the gun. She has the knife. She won't put it down. He's like, stop that. Don't do that. Don't do that. While he's got the gun, the father is kicking the other individual, and she now makes a forward towards it. His gun is still down, saying, stop what you're doing. Stop what you're doing. But she decides that she's going to keep going with the knife. At this particular period of time, you already have one victim who was stabbed running away from the situation. Police officer orders a command. Makia's eyes are so red with rage, she doesn't even recognize the authority. She didn't recognize the authority of her father to calm down. She didn't recognize the authority of her mother to calm down. She didn't recognize the authority of her neighbors and everyone telling her to calm down. So what did they do? They called the police. And the police arrive. The police are present, and she's still deciding that she is lunging, and now the officer's gun is raised. 11 seconds after the encounter. 11 seconds after the police officer shows up to tell her, stop what you're doing. She doesn't respond. The officer, the parents, everyone has told her to stop. When you call the police when someone doesn't want to listen anymore. Let's see. You don't want to hear this. You call the police when someone doesn't want to respond to authority and instructions anymore. See, black folk, stop calling the police when your black folk want to keep killing you. And because you're saying defund the police. You're saying get rid of the police. Here's the way you defund them. Don't call them. Because at this particular point, to sit here and not look at the anger and the violence and the hatred and the killing, the self-killing in your own community and put this out on the police to make it seem like this is the majority of what's taking place. But when we sit there and tell you that black on black crime is a reality and we sit there and we get all huffy and puffy and don't want to talk about it, don't call the police. Don't call the police. Problem solved. The problem is solved. The problem is solved. We fixed the problem. The problem is solved. Sorry, too much Blue's Clues. Sometimes you just got to go back to Blue's Clues so we can put things together. Or was that Dora? I think it's Dora, not Blue's Clues. I'm sorry. I get them all mixed up. I think that might be Dora, the Explorer. Because Dora needs to come to the neighborhoods and help black people figure it out. Don't call black people. Si se puede. Or si se puede. Oh, Lord Jesus. I mean, it's here. It's here. You have 1, 2, 3 police officers. You've been asked to stop. You're ignoring orders. But hey, black cops, you are not doing us right. Let's not deal with the fact that our culture is violent, just like every other culture. But we don't want to look at the violence in our own culture. We just want to look at everybody else as being evil. And that's the reason why we're losing our lives. Nothing to do with us. Nothing to do with our behavior. It's all on everyone else. Blame shifting to its worst degree. And it's sad. It's very, very sad. Yes, and Pelosi thanked George Floyd for sacrificing his life. Yes, for her agenda. Yes, she did. And black folk is still celebrating like, yes, thank you. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm Rose Watson, pretty for Battle for Freedom. I'm going to a break to remain calm.
And now, Watson leaving the Chick-fil-A drive-thru.
Let's quickly pray. Rub-a-dub-dub. Let's eat some grub. Amen.
That's not biblical. Awkward! I got pickles in my sandwich. Triggered!
Just pick them out.
Daddy,
Yes, sweetie.
can we get something for Mommy?
Sweetie, she's probably busy highlighting someone's hair and her food will get cold. Besides, we should have ordered it before leaving.
Okay. Daddy,
Yes, sweetie.
what's highlighting?
It's when people unhappy with their hair have to put chemicals in it and mess up God's blessing.
Triggered! Whoa! Spite much? Triggered! Daddy,
Yes, sweetie.
are you jealous because you're bald? Awkward!
Eat your food, girls.
Okay, Daddy. I dropped my sandwich.
Pick it up and kiss it up to God.
That's not biblical.
I wonder if your mom goes through this. Hi, everyone. I'm your host, Watson, pretty from Battle for Freedom on Mojo 5 Radio. My website, cleaned up. Watson, there is a WatsonPretty.com. I got to clean that one up too. But I want you to go to Battle4Freedom.com right now. A lot of articles out there, a lot of different posts out there that you can read. It's a little bit more readable, less of a ransom note than the way it was before. It won't bleed your eyes. It's a lot better. Trust me. Go to Battle4Freedom.com. Share it out with as many people as you possibly can. So as we sit here just dealing with this whole idea of, so it's not about guns blazing, the state of corruption that we're dealing with from DC to denial, or it should have been from denial to DC, that communities don't want to see this and figure out what's going on. Now this is a veteran, military veteran, who lives across the street, who saw some of the commotion, probably has witnessed a lot of the commotion and drama around this home for a long time. So this person is definitely someone who has more knowledge on the situation, more knowledge of the environment, right close up there. And this is, and also, hold on a second. So you don't think that this person's being racist. I think you need to see something, because this is the neighbor. I'm going to put his face over mine. This is the neighbor who basically sat there, watched everything, recorded everything, and said the cops had to shoot. The police officer had to shoot. But because we don't want to talk about this, we don't want to have this conversation, and in the midst of doing this, we actually do disservice. We do a disservice to the tragedy that takes place, because everyone wants to focus on what the police are doing. We want to focus on how the police need to be better prepared for these situations, but no one wants to sit there and have a conversation about the communities being better prepared to stop acting like fools. But you know what? It happens so easily when we don't want to be in the Word of God, when we don't want to submit ourselves to God. Because if we turn around, yes, and they were in foster care. See, that's the thing about it. And not every foster care situation is bad. And so you have to understand something. I was in foster care. My brother, sister, and I were in foster care for 2 years. My mom had a mental breakdown. Our first home was of this beautiful white family in Freeport, Long Island, Freeport, New York. They took us in, me, my brother, my little sister. and they gave us a place of refuge for 2 days. It was, they opened their home to 3 little black kids at 11 o'clock at night when we were sitting in the police station as the cops trying to figure out exactly what to do. And then we were moved to Amityville, New York, where we stayed with a black family. And there was a lot of drama there. That house, the black family across the street were like, oh, they're problematic. Oh, that family's problematic. And it was really weird because of the fact that even though, and I'm grateful for the people opening their homes to us, there were a lot of issues. There was a lot of black rage and anger in that home. There was a lot of anger. I spent more time away from that house. It's time with the neighbors, time on the other block, away from the home, because even then, at 13 years of age, I could sense the rage, and it scared me. It made me uncomfortable. It got so bad that, I used to, again, here it is. I'm in foster care. Me and my brother and sister, we're away from our parents. We're trying to make sense of this whole thing. We already struggle with our identity. And now, they had cardboard. They had, I think it was like black lacquer. They didn't have paint to paint, but there was black lacquer or some kind of liquid that I could paint with. And I was sitting there just writing things, just drawing things on cardboard and everything like that. There was a refrigerator out in the in the garage. And I was like, oh, cool, you got a refrigerator. We never had a refrigerator in the garage. We barely had food in our refrigerator. So I'm just in there minding my own business, doing what I'm doing here. I go to sleep later that night. And all of a sudden, like 1 o'clock in the morning, my foster mother, can't remember her name. Was it Hargroves? Was it the Hargroves? She opens up the door. Turns on the light in between the lamp between me and my brother. And she drops a bottle, a half gallon of ice cream on the nightstand. She's like, "You left the door open, the refrigerator door open." I was like, "What are you talking about?" And so she accuses me of going into the refrigerator. She left the door open. I didn't know if the door was open or not, but I had no reason to go into the refrigerator. I was too busy painting. And as I sat there trying to plead my case like I didn't do it, her 26-year-old black son tried to break my arm. And so I was taken out of that home that was filled with rage and anger. And I then moved to, the foster care community, the agency took me out of that home and brought me to Long Beach, New York, where I stayed with another black family. Completely different situation. That there was like a 2-3 story home and they took me in and I lived in Long Beach and it was amazing. It was a glorious experience. They could see I was struggling with my own identity. I had so many problems and I just needed to heal. And what did they do? They let me fly. They let me soar. They let me even assume a name that I wasn't. This was at the height of Michael Jackson. The Thriller album just came out, and I decided to call my name Michael. I changed my name to Michael. And they called me Michael. They let me stay in my delusion because they recognized I just needed to heal. A 13, 14-year-old boy struggling to find his identity, who is in foster care and miserable as all get out. And so then I spent the summer in Long Beach, and then the foster agency had to bring us all three back together. So they moved us to North Babylon, where we stayed with another black family. And it was another black family, and the father, I believe, was mixed, and he was a police officer. There were other kids staying in that home too when we first moved in there. So I don't hate black people. There are beautiful black people who contribute, but there are a lot of angry black people who don't want to look in the mirror and see they're in a state of denial, and they don't want to see the very hatred that's seething in their soul that's actually bringing about their own denial. It's a state of denial. I did yesterday the state of senile or senility. But this is a state of denial when we sit here and we don't want to pay attention to the reality. So yeah. Oh no, trust me, Carolyn. I know that there are a lot of families that are there for the paycheck. Oh, I definitely know a lot of foster families are there for the paycheck. It's not for the children. Were those the Hargroves? Those might have been. No. I'm trying to remember. No. Oh my. The Burwells. Burwells were the family that we stayed with and when we were in North Babylon. The daughter lived across the street, and the son, their two sons lived with them. The Burwells, a police officer, he served, and great family. They left. They opened their home to us. Praise God for the foster families that care. Praise God for the foster families that are not there for the money. But this was a hostile situation. It never got this crazy in the foster homes that I stayed in. It never got this bad. But see, he even says, the neighbor says there was an argument that was escalating. It was an argument that's escalating. When it escalates to the point of the fact that you're not pulling out knives to start stabbing people, when your foster dad is kicking someone else in the head, look at the video. Look at the video. Look at the body cam video and watch the dad, the stepfather, who yells at the police officer for shooting his daughter. Why did you do that? She's just a kid. You just finished kicking somebody in the head. You yourself could have been a person that had needed to be shot as well if you started lunging at the cop or lunging at somebody else with something else. You don't want to hear that. Let's move on then. Let's move on. So, the House decides that they're going to pass a bill to make DC a statehood. Now, you have to understand something here with this taking place, because you have Democrat Representative Mondaire Jones basically saying that arguing against a statehood is racist. It's racist. Everything is racist. So much so that let's just call cornflakes racist. Oh my goodness. My eyebrows are racist. Noxious gases are racist. Flatulence is racist. Everything is racist. Hey, you remember you had the woke pastor who said Jesus is racist. Be blessed, Amy. This is ridiculous when everything becomes racist. And so now you have to understand something. I did the numbers on this yesterday, okay? This isn't about racism. DC, Washington, D.C., the city of D.C., is no more than 68 or a little bit over 68 square miles. So what do? They turn around and they say that, Wyoming has no black people and has all these, blah, blah, blah. They had to find Wyoming. And this is when you know about ignorance. Ignorance. Wyoming is over, 56,000 square, it's over 80,000 square feet. Okay? Now it's square miles. 80,000 square miles. DC is only 56 square miles. A little bit over than that, or more than that. You have a state, a big, huge body, an established state of the Union. But you have 120,000 people. They say there's 120,000 black folk in D.C. You're actually taking a city that's just only known for government and turning it into a state. That's what communists do. This is literally the culmination of the Hunger Games, of Divergent, of the Empire Strikes Back, of everything that you can imagine that's wrong with totalitarianism. 1984 is happening right now under Democrat rule, and you guys don't want to believe it. Donald Trump's so corrupted. He's going to bring us back into safety. Let me help you understand something. D.C. becomes a state, and then we have two Democrat senators, one Democrat governor. They say only one congressman. I'm saying there's probably going to be about five Democrats in Congress. You can now pack the Supreme Court with a Democrat majority. You can pass laws the Supreme Court cannot change, nor the president veto with a Democrat majority. Clear corruption made possible by fraud that we cannot talk about. All this possible right now because of the fact that it's a power grab. It's a power grab. It's a power grab. The very thing that they projected on Donald Trump for the last 5 years, they're doing right in front of your face, and you're silent. You elected this. You elected this. 80 million people voted for Joe Biden. And think about this. If there's anything that the Republicans are guilty of, there's a few things the Republicans are guilty of. Okay, so let's roll back to the fall. No. See, no. They're not even guilty. So let's change the language on this whole thing about Amy Coney Barrett becoming Supreme Court judge. Okay? Well, the Republicans said that we should fill the seat, blah blah blah, and yes, did they go back on their word? Yes, they did. They changed the standard, but here's the thing about it: they're saying they denied Barack Obama his chance. No. Barack Obama wasn't denied his chance. All Barack Obama had to do was bring forth his candidate and say, let's go through the process. Let's bring about the voting. And if the Republicans wanted to not show up for the vote like Democrats did, then hey, they weren't there. They weren't present. They're there. Hey, listen, their being absent only speaks volume of where they were. But the process, that didn't stop Barack Obama from bringing the process through. That didn't stop him from bringing in Garland and but the Republicans wouldn't do anything. And then no. Let me help you understand something. Because when they were voting on Judge Amy Coney Barrett, where are the Democrats? Oh, let me even make it closer for you. Here in Indiana, when they had to vote on legislation here in Indiana, the Democrats in Indianapolis decided, instead of being present to vote for the needs of the Hoosiers, they got up and they went to Chicago. They went to the neighboring state to get away from voting on legislation that was critical to the care of Hoosiers in the state. So the very thing that they keep projecting on Republicans, they were doing themselves. One of my friends calls it dirty politics. Dirty politics. Dirty politics is happening right now in D.C. The very thing that you were nervous about Trump doing, that you were nervous about George Bush doing, you were worried about conservatives doing, that you were worried about the Tea Party doing, that you were worried about, everything that's taking place. A lot of you are sitting there. Look what Donald Trump did. He's the president of the United States, and look what he did here. Look what he did here. He sat here. We got to hold him accountable because he's president of the United States, and he's sitting there. He's authoring a lot of this destruction in here. Folks, Barack Obama authored Black Lives Matter and Antifa to be ruining our cities. Oh, well, that's dirty politics. That's dirty politics. Wait. How can you sit there and want to hold Donald Trump accountable, but you don't want to hold Barack Obama, Kamala Harris, or Joe Biden? This is the state of corruption. This is the state of corruption and denial when you sit here and you turn around and you only want to hold one group accountable, when you only want to hold the facts against one group, but you don't want to look in the mirror. Dirty politics, dirty politics, dirty politics. I'm not gonna lie to you. We're getting to this point where I believe this is exactly what's supposed to happen. I say give them what they want. Y'all wanna keep breaking the law? You wanna keep circumventing the law? Let's let those 80, quote unquote, 80 million people who voted for Biden, who cheated to vote for Biden, who cheated, who defrauded the system. I mean, literally, you're arguing against voter ID law. The simple common sense thing. You need ID to get on a plane. You need ID to drive a car. You need ID to get your welfare check. You need ID to do so much to get into facilities, to get into a government building. You need ID. So then technically, and I saw a great meme yesterday. They're forcing identification on people who own guns. They're forcing identification on people. We have to have your guns registered. We need your names tied to the guns. We need your names tied to your ammo. We need your names tied to anything that you've done involving guns. We need your name tied to anything you say on social media. Because we'll shut you down. Because guess what? Corruption. You now have the U.S. Postal System monitoring people. Social media. Their social media posts. We have the Postal System now monitoring people. An arm of the government sitting there monitoring citizens. This is the state of corruption. Corruption. We are so corrupt that it's literally taking everything that Hitler did is being pushed forward by the Democrat Party and progressives. And you still are pointing your fingers at Donald Trump. Listen, Trump has his issues. If you have not been paying attention to me in the last 4 years, actually since 2015 about Trump, you're not listening. You're not listening. But here we are right now, the height of corruption. And listen, yes, Kathy, and the postal system is determining the election outcome. Yes, Tim, communism is here. Wear your mask. Enjoy. Yes, Carolyn, those who stir the poop pot needs to lick the spoon. Oh, but there's more. But wait, there's more. Hey, check this out. This one's a really cool one here. Is this the right one? Yeah. I'm gonna do this one here. This is really cool. So, how Biden's climate plan can affect everyday Americans. How Biden's climate plan could limit you to eat just one burger a month, cost $3,500 a year for a person in taxes, and force you to spend $55,000 on an electric car and crush American jobs. Biden announced that the goal to cut emissions by 2030 compared with 2005 levels at the start of the 2-day climate summit on Thursday. He vowed the plan that he would set the U.S. on a path of zero emissions economy by no later than 2050 and would create jobs. Hold on a second here. Wait. Hold on a second. Let's just zoom in on this. I thought that's what already Donald Trump was aiming for. I don't know. I thought that's what Donald Trump was aiming for when he pulled us out of the Paris Climate Accord, and he said that this was the goal of where we were shooting for. I thought that you're repackaging what Donald Trump said. And people actually believe you, and it's actually going to happen now under you rather than it happens under Trump. Even though without the Paris Climate Accord, we were still exceeding the records of reducing our carbon footprint in the United States of America. We're going to do better than what Trump did. And there's a lot of people who are actually going to believe it. The state of corruption. The state of corruption. Oh yeah, I see Kathy. She said Mad Max is coming to life. Yes, it is. Oh, Lord, help us. Oh, my goodness, I'm getting hot flashes. I'm 50 and getting hot flashes. You have to understand something. Let me go to you. God is sovereign. I love God. He's so beautiful on this thing. So I'm in Romans chapter 9. Let me go to my warning verses today. And Isaiah cries out concerning Israel, though the number of the sons of Israel be as the sand of the sea, only a remnant of them will be saved. For the Lord will carry out the sentence upon the earth fully and without delay, as I has predicted. If the Lord of hosts had not left us an offspring, we would have become like Sodom and become like Gomorrah. Now this is on the sovereignty of God in this. I want to leave this someone up for a second because of the fact that I know a lot of us with our politics and because of Republican, conservative, flabarbage has it's seeped its way into the church and has become the language of the church. Just like left-leaning woke theology has infected the church. Guess what, folks? Let's be real about this. Conservatism has now become a doctrine and a level of holiness even inside the church. Listen, it's a state of corruption. Because when being conservative and or libertarian or constitutionalist or pro-life exceeds just the fundamental facts. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your mind, all your soul, all your strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. When it gets beyond that and we start attributing our political affiliation and our partisanship has now been attached to our piety, oh yeah, we're in a state of corruption. We are in a state of corruption because you have woke pastors who are now saying that Jesus sinned, and we have conservative Christians who are fixated on abortion and homosexuality. And again, I'm not saying that abortion is not an issue, but the problem is that we've allowed fornication, we've allowed adultery, we've allowed lust, we have allowed so much going on in our community, but we're too busy focusing on them. And God's saying, I'm focusing on you. See, the damning word that's in that passage is remnant. See, people are going to focus so much on Sodom and Gomorrah and like, yep, see, there is abomination, homosexuality, flour thing in the mouth. See, we get so fixated, just like how progressives and how blacks will get so fixated on racism. We are so fixated on abortion, homosexuality. Tunnel vision. Stop. Because this passage that we'd be destroyed like Sodom and Gomorrah, it's not about the sin going on in Sodom and Gomorrah, but the fact that God had reduced Sodom and Gomorrah to a pile of ashes. His judgment, his wrath. See, a lot of us become so comfortable in our sin that we believe that we're in the wrath-free zone. That right there is a state of corruption, because the holiness of God, the righteousness of God there is no boundary, there is no area that it cannot reach to bring about his wrath, his justice, and his holiness. What is it? The psalmist says, where can I hide? But see, we've hidden our partisanship. We've hid, oh Oh my goodness, I didn't even get through everything I wanted to talk about. It's almost time to end. Let me just end it up on this here. I saw this thing here. We need to do more of this. I saw this video footage of, it's on the Daily Mail, of this husky that got off of its racetrack on its treadmill because of the fact that it saw this owner. This is attitude of gratitude. I got to end off on this positive note. This husky saw this woman pass out, tried to minister to it, and when she didn't respond, it went out to get some help and save it. This is a real life Lassie situation, and it's so beautiful to see this. I bring this up. It's a major left turn from everything else I've been talking about in this program because of the fact that it's time for us to get off the treadmill of our drama and start loving our neighbors as God has called us to do, or we'll still be in a state of corruption. Back to the basics, folks. Love God, love people. I'm out.